On November 14th, a deputy in Arizona pulled over a silver Honda Accord for a broken taillight. Routine stop. Should have taken for minutes, but when Deputy Marcus Hale shined his flashlight into the back seat, he saw something that didn't belong there, something connected to a missing persons case that had been cold for 3 years. By the time the stop was over, 3 agencies, a forensic team, and a 14-hour investigation would be involved. And it all started with one glance into the back seat. It was 9:52 p.m. in Maricopa County, Arizona. Deputy Marcus Hale was running routine patrol along State Route 9, a quiet stretch of highway where most stops are simple equipment violations. That's when he noticed a silver 2017 Honda Accord traveling slightly below the speed limit. Not illegal, but in law enforcement, driving under the limit can be a behavioral indicator, a driver becoming overly aware of police presence. As Hale closed the distance, he spotted it. The passenger side tail light was out, a clear equipment violation under Arizona law. At 9:53 p.m., Hale activated his emergency lights. What should have been a routine warning had just begun, but 2 minutes later, Hale would notice something in the back seat that would completely change the stop. Hale approached from the passenger side, a safer tactical angle that reduces exposure to traffic. Inside the car sat Daniel Mercer, age 38. He appeared calm. License and registration were handed over immediately. No slurred speech, no smell of alcohol, no visible contraband. Everything about the stop looked normal. The plate check came back clean. No warrants. No serious criminal history. At this point, the stop should have been almost over. But before returning to his patrol car, Hale did something officers do thousands of times every night. He swept his flashlight across the inside of the vehicle, and in the back seat, something caught the beam, something partially hidden under a blanket. At first glance, it looked like a child's car seat, but something about it didn't look right. When Hale's flashlight passed over the seat, he noticed dark staining on the fabric, and the seat appeared partially disassembled. There was no child in the car. Mercer's license listed no dependents. The stains didn't look like food. They looked darker, possibly older. At this point, Hale didn't know what it was, but experienced officers learned to trust their instincts. So instead of ending the stop, he made a decision. He called for backup. Deputy Sarah Chen arrived at 10:09 p.m. Hale quietly explained what he'd seen. They had 2 options. Ask Mercer for consent to search the vehicle, seek a warrant. Hale tried the first option. He walked back to the window. "Mr. Mercer, would you mind if I took a quick look in the back seat?" Mercer answered immediately, "I'd rather you didn't." Now refusing a search is completely legal, but when combined with what Hale had already seen, the situation started to look different. Hale detained Mercer and requested a telephonic search warrant. It was approved at 10:41 p.m. 3 minutes later. They opened the back door, and the first thing they noticed was the smell. It wasn't narcotics. It wasn't decomposition. It was bleach. A strong chemical odor coming from beneath the blanket. Underneath it was the disassembled child's car seat. The staining was far worse than it appeared from outside. Field tests suggested the presence of blood, but that wasn't the most disturbing part. Inside a black duffel bag beneath the seat, deputies found children's clothing, industrial plastic sheeting, cleaning supplies, a prepaid burner phone, and a printed custody agreement. The document listed 2 names, Daniel Mercer and Rebecca Mercer. Rebecca and her 2-year-old daughter Lily had been reported missing 3 years earlier. Their case had gone completely cold until now, but the evidence in the car was only the beginning, because investigators were about to discover where Mercer had been the night they disappeared. Mercer was taken to the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office for questioning. Detectives didn't ask about the evidence immediately. Instead, they started simple. Where was he driving tonight? Where was he coming from? Then one question changed the tone of the interview. When was the last time you used your back seat? Mercer hesitated. Investigators later traced the burner phone found in the vehicle. Cell tower data placed it near a remote property in Pinal County, a property Mercer had secretly purchased months before Rebecca and Lily disappeared. Financial records showed he had withdrawn $4,200 in cash the day before they vanished. and forensic testing confirmed the worst. The blood on the car seat belonged to Lily Mercer. At first, prosecutors didn't file murder charges. Without a body, proving homicide beyond a reasonable doubt is difficult. Instead, Mercer was charged with evidence tampering, custodial interference, concealment of a body. But investigators kept searching the Pinal County property. 7 weeks later, cadaver dogs located 2 sets of human remains. They were identified through DNA and dental records: Rebecca Mercer and her daughter Lily. The charges were upgraded to 2 counts of first-degree murder. Mercer has pleaded not guilty. Every part of this case traces back to a single moment: a flashlight sweep across a back seat. 2 seconds. That's all it took to reopen a case that had been silent for 3 years. A broken taillight, a routine stop, and an officer who decided to look just a little closer. If you want more real investigations broken down step by step, subscribe to Incident Uncovered, because sometimes the smallest details solve the biggest cases.